Title: A Lady Scale Stuck at Zero. The UN's Groundhog Decade in Gender Bias. TLDR, it's like a broken record on repeat, folks. The United Nations says we're stuck in a time warp where gender bias hasn't budged an inch over the past decade. Ladies and gents, it seems like we've been living in our own version of the Groundhog Day movie, just with less Bill Murray and more bias. Despite the sizzling rise of women's rights groups and social movements like Time's Up and Me Too, progress on equality is frozen in time like a woolly mammoth in Siberian permafrost. Once upon a time, not so long ago, we'd hoped to see gender parity by 2030. But according to the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, we're looking more likely to invent time travel before that happens. The UNDP got their calculators out and gave us the lowdown via their Gender Social Norms Index, which analyzes data from the World Values Survey. This survey looks at the views of countries and territories that cover 85% of the global population, so it's not just a couple of Uncle Bobs in their basements. The shocker. Almost 9 out of 10 people hold fundamental biases against women. And hold on to your hats, because the share of people with at least one bias has barely changed over the decade. To throw some numbers at you, in 38 surveyed countries, the share of people with at least one bias fell by a measly 2.3%, from 86.9% to 84.6%. Ouch. But hey, at least we're not in a decline, right? That's something, isn't it? Or are we just clutching at straws here? We can't just blame COVID-19 for this. Sure, it amplified the human development crisis and many women lost their income, but the bias existed long before the pesky virus turned our world upside down. Okay, let's get real. Is this slow-paced, glacier-like movement towards gender equality just a global hiccup? Or is it a stubborn and deeply rooted systemic issue that's about as hard to shift as a sumo wrestler on a comfy couch? And that leaves us with $1 million question, folks. What's it going to take to get this gender equality train chugging along the tracks faster than a snail on a salt trail? Let's hear your thoughts. Can we kick the bias and create an even playing field for everyone, or are we stuck in a loop like a scratched record? Disclaimer, this article is not intended to provide any type of advice or recommendations. It is a discussion piece that brings attention to the ongoing issue of gender bias. Any action you take upon the information on this website is strictly at your own risk, and Turned Up News will not be liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our content.